Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit True Off My Chest and it's by user WeddingDressThrow11. One of my husband's friends made me uncomfortable at our wedding, but it's my own fault. Last weekend, my husband, 27 male, and I, 30 female, got married. It was a great wedding and I had a great time leading up to it. There's only been one thing that's left a sour taste in my mouth. You see, growing up, I always wanted a big princess wedding. I know some people see those as tacky and immature, but it was always my dream. As part of this, the theme for our wedding was ballroom, and I told everyone to wear the nicest things they owned and told the women in particular to try to outshine me. I even went as far as telling the married women to wear their wedding dresses. I didn't care about being outdressed. Instead, all I wanted was to fulfill the aesthetic in my head that I had for the wedding, which included everyone else looking nothing less than extravagant. And no, before people ask, I don't regret my decision. It was really special to see my mom, aunts, and bridesmaids all in their own dresses on my big day. It kind of felt like they were passing the torch on to me, and I really enjoyed the experience. Now on to my husband's friend. My husband has this friend I'll call Kate, 27 female. Kate is my husband's childhood friend and first love. My husband comes from a small town and the majority of his friends he's known since adolescence. In their senior year of high school, Kate and my husband got engaged, which is kinda normal where they're from, but called off the wedding and never went through with it. It was mutual. They felt they were growing up too fast and wanted to slow down. The calling off of the wedding was the end of the relationship, but they stayed friends. I knew this information prior to getting with my husband and never had a problem or felt jealous because I'm friends with a few exes myself. In fact, 2 of them were invited to our wedding. One was my bridesmaid, I'm bisexual, and the other was invited as a guest along with his current girlfriend. I've never had a problem with Kate being my husband's ex, but I have had a problem with Kate as a person, as she's kind of bitchy and gossips like she's still in high school. A few examples of this are just a month into our relationship, she confessed to my husband she still had some lingering feelings, to which he responded they had already tried and that it didn't work. If she brought it up again, he would cut her off out of respect for me. I wasn't that mad at the time because I understood they had a long history and my relationship with him was just starting out and she owed it to herself to see if there was anything still there before it was too late. However, after she was turned down, her attitude towards me changed to fake nice and started calling me things like cougar or asking me how I expected to make a relationship work as I want to be an anesthesiologist, which would require long hours. Or telling my husband's whole friend group how she doesn't like my loud personality, and when I confronted her about all of those things, she would say, "Oh, it was just a joke," or "You're so loud, I felt like you would just go off." There's more crap, but if I typed it all, I would never get to the point. Kate has her own husband, I'll call Gerald. Kate and Gerald both make average in terms of finances as they are both teachers. Kate kindergarten and Gerald seniors. They got married last year. On a teacher's salary, Kate wasn't able to afford the most luxurious wedding dress out there, but I always had the impression she was happy with it. Kate does have another wedding dress from when she was going to marry my husband that her dad paid for, who has unfortunately passed now, which in terms of fanciness is a bit nicer, but obviously she didn't wear that dress to her own wedding. I was expecting Kate to wear the wedding dress she wore to her own wedding to our wedding, but when I looked and saw her, she had the wedding dress she was supposed to wear when she was getting married to my husband. When I saw her, I immediately went, "What the F?" but decided to just drop it because I didn't want a conflict on our wedding day. My husband, however, was also confused about why she wore that one and asked her about it without me even having to tell him I was uncomfortable. She responded, "Well, your wife wanted such a big princess wedding, I thought I'd wear this one because it follows the theme more. Don't tell me she's upset about it, she's the one who said come in your nicest clothes, and this is my nicest dress." I feel like I'm not allowed to be upset even though I am, and I know this is my fault, but the whole thing has really left a bad taste in my mouth. I would have never been okay with her wearing that one if I'd known she was going to, and I feel like she should have asked. I keep telling myself it's not that big of a deal, and during the daytime when I'm distracted, I don't even think about it. But I've always been a night owl, and it makes me crappy every time I think about it before I fall asleep. So now I'm here, complaining on Reddit like a loser. I feel pathetic. Well, OP, it's not an overly dramatic situation, but there's a lot of stuff in it. First, yeah, you can be upset, but I would say you kinda have to be upset with yourself because yes, this was something of your own making. You said you were okay with wedding dresses. Unfortunately, she maliciously complied you. She blindsided you with the dress that you weren't expecting her to wear. And yeah, I would definitely take it as a slight because that's exactly what it was. It was one last, I don't know, elbow to the rib or something like that. She clearly doesn't like you. And that takes me to point number 2, which is your husband should do something about this friend, like telling her that the relationship has run its course. And the third thing that has nothing to do with UOP is about her husband, that maybe he should have also said something to her regarding wearing that dress. If not for your husband, then for him. Unfortunately, other than your husband cutting her out of your lives, there's not much more you can do. So you've got 2 choices. You can let this keep bothering you and hijack your wedding memory, or you can try to work and let it go. If I was in your shoes, I'd do my best to do the latter. And what do you guys think about this whole thing? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Mammoth Basket 4960 says, many are saying to take action against her, but you've been classy. Remain classy. Ignore her. If you confront her, she will be making up some tall tales. If she confronts you to dig in, start recording on your phone and keep it in case you need to use it to refute any lies she spews. However, I would let your husband know and ask to keep the conversation confidential between you two, that it hurt you, and a slap at him for rubbing the dress in during your sacred ceremony. It was a low-class move. It was at your and your husband's expense. Not only did it disrespect both of you, but it was also one big-ass insult to her husband. She has, most likely, mentioned she wore that dress to the wedding. All of your friends, if they are true friends, already think it was a weirdly insulting move on her part. And OP responds, God, you sound like my maid of honor. After I made this Reddit post, I decided to tell her about the dress, since the only ones who recognized it were my husband's friends from high school, and almost word for word, this is what she said. Snoowords 4839 says, hugs. Husband should be the one to end this friendship. She has overstepped enough. Now, what you should have said to her husband is, I'm surprised she kept the dress that she was going to wear originally to marry my husband to our wedding. Laugh it off. She isn't worth the thought that she wrecked anything on your wedding day. If she brings it up, tell her at least she finally got to wear it to your wedding and walk away. And OP responds, I did ask her that when I saw it the first time. She said she kept it because it was the last really nice thing her dad bought her before he passed. She was 19 when he died. No Intention 308 says, I just need to ask, why your husband is still friends with her? She doesn't respect you. I will never be friends with someone who treats my partner like that. You should be mad at her. She is a bad person, in fact. But why is your husband accepting that? You should be mad at him. And OP responds, most of the stuff she did was at the beginning of our relationship. We've been together 5 years, which did lead to my husband having a talk with her about not being friends anymore. She said she was sorry she offended me and didn't realize I didn't have their, referring to his friend group, sense of humor. He said that maybe the things she says just aren't funny. And once she said that, it only reinforced his decision to cut her off because he said, even now, you can't just say sorry. It's always I'm sorry, but, which shows you aren't sincere. It was really awkward because she was friends with all his friends and we still saw her around, but he would just hold my hand and ignore her. That lasted about a year until she got with Gerald and she finally gave a sincere, or at least what I thought was sincere, apology and said that she realized after getting with Gerald, who is the love of her life, how upset she would have been if our roles were reversed, and asked for another chance of us all being friends. Despite my better judgment, I agreed, and while the comments aren't so directly rude anymore, sometimes her tone towards me sounds like she thinks I'm dumb or I feel like there's a double meaning to her words. I've noticed she's kind of a bitch to all their friends though, and they've just accepted it as a part of her personality. I've been feeling like I'm going crazy for a while because she hasn't said anything directly rude, but after reading these comments, I'm going to have a conversation with my husband about it tomorrow. Additional information from OP's comments. I saw the high school wedding dress in her closet once, and I said, "Oh, is this your mom's?" Since some moms pass down their wedding dresses. And she was like, "No, that's the one from high school before we called it off." And yes, I said wedding dresses were acceptable and a lot of women did wear theirs. But it didn't cross my mind that she wouldn't wear the one she wore to her actual wedding and would instead wear the one she would have worn with my husband. It felt like a slight considering we haven't always been on the best of terms and I've had problems with her in the past. I wish she would have asked, but I do realize I didn't specify only wear the dress you wore from your wedding. Also, both my husband and I were invited to her wedding last year, so I'd easily recognize the one she wore. Alright, well, most of the community agrees that OP needs to try to let this one go and that her husband needs to deal with it. And we got a lot more context from OP regarding the relationship and everything else in the background. So now it's time to move on with the update to see how this story ends, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with the update. Hello guys, before I give you all the updates, there are a few things I'd like to clarify. First, a commonly asked question was how did we even know what the dress looked like? I said it a few times in the comments, I've seen it before in her closet. Usually, when my husband's friend group hangs out, the guys all get ready at one of their places and the girls get ready at one of our places. Then we all meet up wherever we're going, whether that's a pub crawl, a concert, or music festival, etc. Kate hosts pretty regularly, and it's during those times I've seen it in her closet while she looks for something to wear. And when she got married to Gerald, she put the other wedding dress right next to the high school one. As for my husband, I asked him about it that day, and he said when they broke up, Kate asked him if he wanted to see the dress since there was no point in hiding it anymore, and he said yes. And then when they told their friends the news, the friends also wanted to see the dress, so she put in front of them too. About pictures, I'm not going to post any, but I will explain how it looked for those of you who wanted to know. The dress she wore, the high school one, was a champagne-colored lacy, not necessarily sexy or anything, but it had a lot of lace. V-neck dress with a collar? I'm not really sure how to explain it. With a track that had roses stitched into the design that were champagne-colored like her dress. I don't know if I did a good job explaining it, but it's very pretty in person. Now, a lot of you asked about the wedding. Lots of people showed up in wedding dresses and that was absolutely beautiful. One thing my friends from college did was do a 50s Marilyn Monroe type glam and it was killer. One of the staff members was able to find a red carpet and we took a bunch of black and white photos of them. I had like 5 girls wear their quinceañera dresses, which were gorgeous. Loving face. Finally, some parents dressed their little girls up in actual princess costumes, which I thought was really cute. The guys also dressed really well too. One guy did a sequin tux. Quite a few went for a rockstar type suit. My husband's best man went for this really gorgeous red velvet tux. And my dress was this really shimmery, really poofy ball gown type dress with a flower design on the veil that I got custom made for me, and then I had it designed where I could actually unattach the poofy part of the dress for the reception, and then by doing that it turned into this long sleek white shimmery dress with a leg slit. And finally, here's the update. So I talked to my husband about it this morning, and when I brought it up, he immediately let out a sigh of relief. He said, "I didn't know how to bring it up because you didn't seem bothered, but when I saw her in that dress, I thought it was very weird she wore that one." He went on to say that he even considered asking her to leave because he thought it was rude, but because I had no reaction to the dress, he thought I either didn't care or didn't recognize it. But either way, if I wasn't bothered, he didn't want to disturb my peace of mind by kicking her out. We discussed it and he's going to have a talk with her, not just about the dress, but her treatment of me in general, and explained that going forward, she will not be a friend in our lives. After this talk, I decided to let it go and focus on my new marriage. This was a small thing, and now, after I talked it out with my husband, I feel kind of silly that I let it bother me this much. I'm at peace she will no longer be in our lives, and that's enough for me. Looking back on it now, I kept focusing on whether my feelings were right or wrong instead of just communicating them whether I was right or wrong. I'm glad we've learned this lesson early on because this will only make our marriage stronger. We can now move on and enjoy ourselves, which is what I plan to do when we go on our honeymoon next week. Also, someone said, you gave her the chance to wear the dress her dad got her and gave her a gift. That was kind of a moment for me because no matter what her intentions were, that's true. I'm glad she got to have that moment. Well, OP, I'm gonna call this a happy update. You guys got communication clear from the beginning. That's awesome. And your husband stepped up and did the right thing. Maybe he should have done it sooner, if he ever heard any of the comments that Kate made, those little slights that she gave. But regardless, she's out of your lives now, so here's wishing you both all the best in the future. Congratulations on the wedding and have fun in the honeymoon. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. Now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Northwest Passage. Business class upgrade if there is room. I used to work at a regional airline. The jet we used for our flight to the big city had 6 business class seats. The business class service was really good for a 2-hour flight. It included a full bar service, a hot meal, warm bread basket, followed by a trolley with dessert and signature coffee. The good old days. One of our regular travelers was a local business owner who was just a slimy businessman. He had a reputation for making a lot of money from some pretty shady deals over the years. We would roll our eyes when we saw him coming to the check-in counter because he would always name drop and ask for special treatment. He always used the business class check-in line even though he was usually in the economy. He didn't have frequent flyer status, but he was buddies with one of the airline executives and always let us know this fact when he checked in by making sure to tell us that he was good friends with Vice President Karen. He would always ask for free upgrades, extra baggage, not charging a change fee, last-minute discounts, etc. If he didn't get what he wanted, he immediately called VP Karen, who would usually then call us and approve whatever it was he wanted. So one day, slimy businessman checks in for his flight to the big city and of course name drops and asks for a free upgrade to business class because I'm friends with VP Karen and said it would be okay. He was traveling on a discounted ticket that was not eligible for an upgrade even if he did have an upgrade coupon, which he didn't. I informed him that he was not eligible for an upgrade on this ticket and gave him his boarding pass and sent him on his way. Of course, he flips open his cell phone and immediately calls VP Karen. Within 2 minutes, the phone at the check-in desk rings and it's VP Karen authorizing me to override the policy to upgrade slimy businessman to business class with no upgrade coupon required if there is room. The flight that day wasn't that busy, but only one person booked in business class, leaving 5 open seats. I was really irritated, but I begrudgingly put slimy businessman on the upgrade list anyways. He returned to the check-in counter and picked up his standby boarding card and gave me that smug "told you so" look. But then what VP Karen said clicked with me: if there is room. The next passenger I checked in was a super nice lady with a big smile, friendly, please and thank you. Oh, thank you so much for checking my bags to my connecting flight. That's so nice of you. I was taking my time and we were chatting a bit since it wasn't that busy. She was a teacher going on a trip to see her family and it was her first visit with them in over a year and was going to meet her new little nephew for the first time. She was overjoyed just to have the time off to travel. I typed in a few things into the computer to make it look like I was checking something about her connecting flights, and then I said, "Oh, you have been selected today to receive a free upgrade to business class." She was shocked. "I've never flown business class in my life, this is so amazing." At that time, we were rarely questioned if we upgraded someone without a certificate. Over the next 20 minutes, I found excuses to upgrade 4 other passengers. One who worked for one of our top corporate accounts, one who was legitimately a frequent flyer, I can't remember the other reasons, but by the time I went to board the flight, I had to tell slimy businessman that I was sorry, but the business class was full and couldn't offer him an upgrade today. The teacher I upgraded profusely thanked me again when she boarded with the rest of the business class passengers. Little did she know that it really made my day also. Well, sorry slimy businessman, no room for you I guess. That's awesome OP, thank you for sharing, take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.